Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad that you're here tonight with us. Welcome to our virtual friends as well. We're glad that you're here to join our full house in Decatur. We are really happy to have our second visit from Özge Samancı for Evil Eyes See, a graphic novel. And this book has been a long time coming. We've been very excited about it, about hearing about it through our community, and many of y'all are part of our community and have been cheering Özge on for many years since her first book that we got to celebrate. And so we're really excited to have this time here. We're going to go through a visual presentation and then we're going to open it up for questions. So we are really excited for y'all to get to hear this. Özge is an artist and associate professor at Northwestern University. Her drawings have appeared in The New Yorker, The Wall Street Journal, and Slate magazine. Her autobiographical graphic novel, Dare to Disappoint, has been translated into 6 languages. Her interactive installations have been exhibited internationally in museums and galleries, and you can visit her more online. So we want to encourage our folks who are watching online to ask questions at any time. And for all of you who are physically here with us, I'll bring a microphone around to you if you would like to ask questions. We do want to make sure that you use the microphone so that everyone can hear you who's in the room, but also so all of our virtual friends can hear you. Since this is a multimedia presentation, we're going to be using lots of different mics at different times. So bear with us on that. And if you would like to make a donation in support of our nonprofit, Charis Circle is the organization that puts on all of these events. We do over 275 events a year. We stay very, very busy. We love supporting our community authors. And so you can come see me. You can throw $5 in the cash basket up front. You can round up on a purchase. You can do lots of things. You can become a monthly sustaining donor. Many of you who are in this room already are, so thank you. But without further ado, please put your hands together one more time for Evil Eyes.
All right, here is the plan. I will read you 8 minutes from the book, and then I will tell you some fun stuff, hopefully. Rumeli Castle was right next to campus. The depth was perfect for diving, but only men swam in Istanbul. The entire coast belonged to them. Their intimidating gaze, words, and actions kept women from swimming. Ironically, sometimes the same intimidation caused desperation. Women occasionally threw themselves into the water, but not for fun. On the hot days, men chilled in the cool waters, and if they were too chill, they sipped their hot tea. They lay under the sun like stray cats. Sometimes their wives waited on the shore and carried them towels. While we put on our wetsuits in the tiny, crammy bathroom of a tea garden, men played backgammon and young boys used the roof of the bus stop as a diving board. It was a balmy afternoon in September. Ha ha ha! Stay out of my way! Our presence always attracted the curious and crashing gaze of passerby. I wanted to dive in and be invisible right away. Thanks for coming, Ömer. I wish we had money to take diving trips somewhere else so that we wouldn't attract attention. You could go to Bodrum or Kaş with the rich kids, but you are here now and you desperately need me. We needed a guy to shield us from the gaze of other men, like nested Russian dolls. Is there enough pressure in the tanks? Girls, did you check it? Meltem, did you bring the gloves? Oops, I forgot the gloves. Our equipment is so worn out, it doesn't matter if we have the clothes or not. The crowd needed reassurance that the usual power dynamic was still there. A man in charge. Are you their instructor? Yes. He's not our instructor. He barely knows diving. You trained him 6 months ago. He's helping us. Can't you just appreciate that? He's trying to be efficient. He can be efficient and honest at the same time. Well, none of us can match your standards of honesty. You can't be honest every second of your life. When I couldn't communicate, the cynical monster in me woke up. How can you date a guy who is so full of himself? I mean, Mr. Poseidon. You don't get it. I love that song. Ladies, allow me to check out the Cadillac, but you two stop chatting and get ready. You're getting distracted. Sure. Such a sad song. What are you doing? You don't know? Spit prevents it from getting foggy. Of course I know. My own spit works much better. Wow, I have never seen your scar this close. How did you get that? Car accident? You know, every family has their martyrs in traffic accidents. In our case, nobody died, but I acquired this car. You were lucky. My uncle died in a car accident 2 years ago. Maybe you can get a plastic surgery for that nasty scar. I like my scar. It reminds me that I am mortal. Then why do you cover it up with your hair? A flyer interrupted our clash. Vote for Pehlivan. Candidate for mayor of Istanbul. He was lucky to have his name. Pehlivan means a wrestler, a hefty and powerful man. I would never vote for someone with a combo. Haha, we have to see him on a windy day. How did this guy become so popular so quickly? He's playing the card against the educated and elite, and he's pumping out religious propaganda. People kept asking, aren't you afraid of diving into the Bosphorus? Actually, navigating underwater is much simpler than navigating the streets of Istanbul. A diver with a fear of heights wouldn't enjoy diving in the Bosphorus. The seabed is a cliff. I hope we see a dolphin, swordfish, but from a distance. Like bottom feeders, each time we pass the piles of trash, we peek to see if there was something valuable. Maybe a gold watch, an engagement ring, something we could take with no sense of guilt. Some of our finds were priceless. A sitting jellyfish, one mannequin leg, and fish exploring a bag from a liquor store. Earthquake? Are parts of buildings falling into the sea? What the heck, a meteor? Underwater, heartbeats sound loud. My ears, my skull, and even the tips of my fingers were pounding. I always thought movies over-dramatize the submerged car scenes. Its descent while the headlights are on, sand settling around it quietly. Now I knew this was a completely accurate representation. Was this real? Did we have nitrogen poisoning? We were only 33 feet below the surface. Everything became quiet, except the sound of our bubbles and our hearts. We were hyperventilating. The school of fish were like performers on a stage, crossing the light beams. Their calmness was in complete contrast with the situation. The light inside the car was on. If the car had been empty, this would have been the most beautiful spectacle I had ever seen. We kicked as hard as we could, but the current was keeping us from reaching the car. We can save her. What? What? She's saying stop? Danger? She's pointing at the hood. What? Headlight? Oh, electricity. In the salty water, the battery of the car was still running. There was an electric field around the car. We were like animals, hopelessly circling around the car. If I hadn't forgotten the gloves, I could have opened that door. Who is in the car? Are they moving or floating? Should we go up, bring help? We picked up a stone, dropped it. The stone couldn't break the windshield. Archimedes' principle worked against us. Suddenly, the headlights went off. We could finally open the damn car door. So I leave you with the cliffhanger. Yeah. Good. And sorry for images were so slow. We had to wait a bit. And now I will tell you how did this happen. Okay. So doing this by sitting is kind of against my nature. I pace and hop around a lot. So and this is so special place to me. I went to graduate school here at Georgia Tech, and I have my dissertation advisor here. I have my like cohort members here. I have people whom I made art projects together, and I have my former neighbor from Evanston, Chicago here. I have my Turkish mafia here. I have my relatives here. Yeah, so it's my partner here. And my dance friends are here, and here my therapist is here. Imagine that. The therapist who changed my life. And that's Jordan. And that's the Jordan. I have heard the stories as a 4-year-old, and so I have a like life here, a life that I left here and moved somewhere else. So being here is so meaningful to me. Thank you. And the book. Okay, so let's look at the book trailer first. A 2-minute animated trailer that I did with my students. it be possible to bring it from the computer?
Yeah, we can still hear it well.
I know, but the sound is so good. The if it's not a huge hassle, like if we switch it to the computer, that would be great. Like we did on the first test, like that. No, we lost it. Sorry. Um, All right, thank you. Sorry, I'm like so greedy about the sound here. It maybe you can watch it online. It loses its depth sometimes. So all right, see, this is the Boğaziçi University where the story is taking place. And here, let's see what's happening here. These are the faculty of Boğaziçi University. They are doing a non-violent protest since 2001, coming at noon and clapping. What they are protesting is Erdogan is firing the faculty and bringing his own people with no credentials, no publications. And this is like one thing that's happening in the country during the 20 years. And so the story is fictional and it focuses on the rise of a populist leader, which is a familiar topic for the United States. There is election coming and similar thing may happen here. I hope it won't last 20 years and I hope it won't happen, right? The castle as a metaphor appears a lot in the book at the background, and the university is a perfect setting for a murder mystery story. So why it's a murder mystery story, I will explain it to you. But before then, here we are looking at like Boğaziçi University, Istanbul. The plant side close to us is Europe, and the other side is Asia. So every part of the city has been told in the novels, in the films, but there is one part that hasn't been explored that much. That's the part connecting the continents, the salty water, right? So I chose that part for my story because my characters are going underwater. They are going below the surface and they are seeing something they are not supposed to see there. The reason I chose that world is I wanted to use a magical world, and that magical world was the underwater part. In order to tell a story about a place, you have to know that place. So how am I gonna know what's there? I read a lot, and I interviewed a military scuba diver who told me wonderful stories about their process. And then like Boğaziçi University is established by Americans in the 1800s, and it has its own culture. It's so separate from the reality of Turkey. In the campus, patriarchy didn't exist that much. We lived in a kind of more optimistic world there. But once you step out the campus, you face with the reality of Turkey, which is like right next to the university. This is the part I explained in the book, All Men Are Swimming. And that man over there is making fun of me taking their photo. And here they are, yeah. This is the first dormitory that I stayed. And it was really, really tough place. And then after a couple of years, you gain credit and you move to nicer one, but that was horrible too. And so this image keeps coming, and it is really essential for the book. We really lived in a 250 square foot room with 8 women, right? It's really like prison. This is not cartoon, this is not exaggeration, this is like documentary here. So that there were so many eccentric characters, so many absurd situations. I started from like, I want to tell the world about how bizarre those years were, but that's not enough to make a book, right? And then a little bit more thinking and developing, that's my microcosmos, and my macrocosmos was the entire country. The misery here connected to misery of the country. But when I remember those years, these are my friends from the dormitory, like the pixelated, foggy, magical world of those years. I had to like find a magical place, and that was the underwater part. And these characters inspired story characters, but it's semi-autobiographical, so bits and pieces of people shape the characters. And as the characters go dive underwater and see something they weren't supposed to see, they also go one more magical place, which is Basilica Cistern, where there are like 2 Medusa heads, and that's a second magical world, which is underground. Metaphorically, you can read it. And in the Basilica Cistern, people throw coins and make wishes, which is a part in the book too, is each of these coins has a wish embedded in them. When I made the book, I had a wish too. I wanted to publish it with a big publisher. So I had an agent. I made a couple chapters, wrote a good proposal, we submitted, and nobody wanted. And dream is over. I was sad. I was very sad. I put it on the shelf. And then what happened? Then I saw this call from Berlin. It was a grant. I applied for it, and they choose a project, and they give money and they give mentorship. And Uli Last is a known cartoonist from Austria and Germany. I really like her work, and she was the mentor. I applied, 600 people applied, and she wanted to meet with me. But the call was an autobiographical project, so I couldn't apply for Evil I See. I came up with another project, Speechless, my first year in the United States. And so she met with me and she said, I'm excited. She said, oh, like your proposal wasn't good. I didn't like it. But pages proposal. At the very end, I put a link to Evil I See. She said, but I read Evil I See. If you do that one, I'll work with you. So with these two other comics artists and I, during the pandemic, we regularly met and developed our stories. And I performed so well if there is an audience. Not now, I'm like so excited. This is not my best performance here. So Uli, she chose my project. After those three, I was the only one. And then we went to Angoulême, France. And then I went to Berlin, and they're all paying for it. That's great. And this festival, in Forecast Festival in Berlin, I had an exhibition with the chapters I made earlier to sell the book. And those, they gave me a space similar to Basilica Cistern, which is like almost leveled with the water. And that's the unsuccessful selfie. We are all blurry. In the basement, the enlarged images and like images from Basilica Cistern, and there was like sound installation too. So that was the entry to the project. And here Uli and I, like the car is falling, something falling down. You can't think it like my project failing. But then, right, Uli, that at the point I didn't believe in the project, I didn't believe in myself, someone I respected believed in me. And that is such a key moment that that is a gift that sometimes we can give to other people, that when it's coming from the heart, of course. Now, how like I make these images, this is my background. I never was trained in drawing or like art making in a classical sense. So I am a self-trained person. My art making is a bit wild because I invented those methods myself. Now, this project, Ordinary Comics, some people are familiar with it. It was my online comics journal. Instead of writing emails to friends in Turkey, I started making one image per day and posting it here. And I kept doing that for 10 years. And this is a recent website we built for it. It allows us to explore it, years, locations, colors, materials, etc. And this like experiment gave me a lab space. There I kind of figured out an aesthetic where I can combine comics with collage. Unexpected materials like became part of my process. And so that was how I trained myself in general. And there are, of course, it's a long story, but one part of it, how I trained myself. And then this became the aesthetic in my next book. Like these are my family members with button heads. And like many people, I cannot draw hands very well. I use reference photographs. This is my own hand. And then I put hair and a cigarette. It becomes a man's hand. Yeah. Here I'm holding a tampon, and that becomes the police officer's hand. He says, what is this? Looks like a bullet, but pink and light. Right? The complicated backgrounds, I'm trained at the digital media program of Georgia Tech. So I am good with like all the softwares and stuff. So I 3D model a complicated background and then that becomes my reference, right? And once I do that, like dormitory is going to keep coming in the story, I have to be everywhere in that room, then I can move the camera and create the background for myself. I got into this background issue because of Uli. She is German and she's very direct. And she said, "You are using collage because you're lazy. You are avoiding drawing the backgrounds." And I was, maybe that's true. I thought, and in this book, I really tried to draw detailed backgrounds. Sometimes with this image search, I get really obsessive. This is a flight attendant costume from 1995. I didn't have to find it, but I did. And here is the character wearing it. I was going to draw a visa page. Turkish citizens have to get a visa to travel other countries. It's like a pile of documents. And in 1995, how that page would look like, I didn't know. Is it going to be handwritten, typewritten? So in the magical internet, there is even an image for that in 1993. My digital devices are full of images of me pausing to be able to draw certain things. Like here, that becomes a diver. This is Shirley and I. I love that we are reading AARP bulletin, and it says COVID, what's next? But then this image becomes the taller and shorter character, and I love that our like we are really trying to act in the image, as if it's gonna show in the comic, yeah. And then here I'm defying the gravity and becoming the diver. And when there is no one around, I act all the characters and like crop them and create a hole so that I can like turn it into an image. There, me becoming the character, and this Shirley is posing me there, and on the top you can see my feet above her. And sorry, that becomes the woman in the car. So there are like so many ridiculous images of me. Oh, that's supposed to be a lighter, like the lighter you saw in the trailer. Endless of them. The cover, we had many like trials. These were some earlier cover ideas. I'm so glad we didn't choose this font, and that became actual cover. And that's the page. Now the materials is like, even though I am comfortable with digital environment, there is certain flatness, like uniformity using only digital, and I don't limit myself. So this rock on this image, I use coffee for that, coffee texture. And then here, like the ground is cinnamon, so it's like it's like cooking. And then here the background has little texture, and that's smashed blueberries, right? So anything can turn into material for me while making comics. It's a chocolate wrapping paper, changing the color on Photoshop, and when there is a complicated background, I can create a simpler background next to it. You take walks, there are treasures on the streets, leaves become collage materials. This is fidelity envelope, becomes the tablecloth here. And blue tape is the beautiful sea surrounding Turkey, and the white tape too. Evil eye beads, this time, are the people whom I dedicated the book. Those are my roommates, a lot of them, in the 250 square room. And the when I there are days that I like make ocean at home for the backgrounds with acrylic, and I use sponges and different things, and I have folders full of these blue backgrounds I created, and like they have different textures on them, and based on the scene I can use that texture on the page and digitally manipulate it. The like most comics artists use a process called thumbnails. We draw the entire book in a very crappy way, very quick drawings that helps us to lock like how many frames on the page, what are they exactly saying, and the editor and the publisher, everybody agrees on it. So if that's the thumbnail, those brown things are just coffee. I try to, find a clean one, but yeah. So if this one, if this one we are focusing, I draw the characters first, and then I draw the backgrounds on the computer, and then we color it on the Photoshop with a like watercolor looking color thing. And another page, the bottom frame, they are going to a tea garden, so more detailed version. Again, the figures are separate. Then I place the figures, I expand the frame sometimes and add colors to it. These are the same people that you saw in their mid-40s, and they are reading versions of themselves in a fictional story, seeing bits and pieces of people that they knew. And so many people helped me making this book. Shirley dealt with me in every second. Anna, my student, applied the color. Without Anna, I would be still making the book. Elizabeth and Eliza, they helped me with my English second language situation here. And Tom is my publisher, and Sam was my agent, and he had wonderful ideas while making the book. So their disappointment was my growing up story, and it was 100% autobiographical, and it's kind of a common story. So it found its path and got translated and so on. This one, its journey is just starting, and you're part of the journey. Like the book will be available hopefully in 10-20 days. Like these are earlier books that we brought, and so both books are coming from my looking at the country I left 20 years ago, and also my love for water. That's me playing with water at age 2. Yes. So that's it. Thank you.
So now we're going to open it up for questions, and we can begin with anybody who's got a question here in the audience. And for our friends watching virtually, feel free to shout out in the chat if you have a question. But let's start with our folks who are here. Anybody? Yes. Yeah, let me bring this to you. Hold on one second.
Hi, do you write first in Turkish and translate to English, or directly in English?
I write in English, okay. But sometimes it's the monster language, like the in-between, half English, half Turkish. But for the next one, I may try writing in Turkish and then translating it. I'm just curious how it goes that way.
Hi. Did you always have an interest in non-digital art mediums? When you were like showing everything, I was like, oh, like it looks like very like digital, like I love it, and then you're like, oh, I used coffee to paint this. Like, that's amazing. I loved it. I was just curious if you always had that sort of interest, and when you came to the conclusion that you should pair them together to make this.
I think the pairing is it's not a decision, it just happens. Like I am hopeless to make the image, like a chicken running around, and like whatever I can find, and then in time I've developed a method that works for me. So it happens that way, haphazardly, that there is not a super conscious decision. When like people use these media differently, when I work only digital, it becomes a bit monotonous, but some people break that, have a way of breaking it and just staying fully digital. For me, analog brings the that more texture and that kind of feeling. Yeah, thank you.
Özge, I love the book. And what was fascinating to me, how much you can bring the culture into your drawings and the humor. Like I've been living here 20 years. It is so hard for me still translate things from Turkish. Like, have you struggled in some point? Like you have the image, what they're saying, but it just doesn't come out the way you want it, because it's really hard to create a world that is a culture in different language, and especially with your drawings.
The I'm sure I struggled. The thing I remember now, sometimes like when I start something, like there's a part about circumcision, and so it's such an interesting concept, right? Like, and then I start going deep into it. It starts becoming its own thing. Like I want to keep going and going. I did that. It was like pages and pages of circumcision, and I was like, wait, I mean, it just I lost it here. I cut it, and it's like giving away your child, kind of getting rid of those pages. Yeah, just that I want to talk more about it, and I have to cut it short. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you made the point. I read the book. It was great.
When you think about other graphic artists that you enjoy, is there someone that you have learned from or look up to that you want to mention?
Oh, Linda Berry, always. Yeah, she's a amazing figure that if you're not familiar with her work, just check it out. And she's an amazing educator too, and a wonderful writer. She just won the couple years ago MacArthur Genius Award, and just a well-given award. Yeah.
I can totally see your like her influence on your work. That
Oh,
makes
so
total
much.
sense. Yeah.
Do you think that having a background in math rather than literature affected the way that you tell stories? Or
Here's an education person. Yeah, good. Yeah, I think if I had literature education, it would have worked in a different way. It wouldn't outcome wouldn't be that way. I hated studied mathematics. Like it really, they were the hardest times of my life. But at the end, it's a very meaningful thing to study if you don't know what you are going to do. Well, it's a very hard entry to the world too. That, but it that analytical thinking is quite helpful, and it helped me. Like when I was at Georgia Tech doing my PhD on digital media, like it gave me flexibility to learn coding, and it gave me the ability to learn whatever I want. And the fact that I had to deal with the difficulty of mathematics, like making a graphic novel in comparison to it, I'll do it. I'll do 5 of those. Yeah.
it's such a great thing to show that math and science or English.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
We have an online question from Jordan. Jordan says, "That was wonderful. I was just wondering if there are any unconventional online construction programs you would recommend that aren't Adobe programs."
Construction meaning like the SketchUp, the one I use for 3D modeling, that's a free environment. The Maybe we can do crowdsourcing here. Anyone knows free Photoshop alternatives? There was something. I don't know, but like I think a Google search will like give an answer.
So you
to
use
it.
SketchOut is the name of the
SketchUp.
SketchUp. Okay,
SketchUp
great.
is a 3D modeling one. Yeah.
Great. So I was very moved by the academics in their full regalia that you showed us after your book, protesting. Obviously, we're in a moment now where teaching professors don't have the freedom to teach what they want, even in Georgia. What have you learned from 20 years of repressive leadership in Turkey and the tactics of protests that you've observed that maybe could help people in Georgia and Florida and everywhere else in the U.S.?
Right. Like when you ask me that question, things going back on my mind, how much I should speak about this in a way that I want to be able to go back and see my family, right? It's that should tell you something, that I have colleagues where I work, they were pulled away at the airport and they were said why are you studying? Why are you writing this? So it's the oppression can go really, really high. And like last time when I go to Turkey, in order to see my friends, I went to Berlin because all of them moved to Berlin. That says something too. It's very hard, but the last election gave a little hope of change. So I'm not wishing it for this country or any country. Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? Yep. Let me get you, and then I'll bring.
Sorry, I can be heard.
You just can't be heard.
Oh, I know. So I just wanted to ask you. You started to say why you chose murder mystery in particular as a genre, and I just wanted to know if you had more to say
Yes.
about that.
Yeah. So
Let me repeat the question just so.
Sure.
So the question is why did you choose murder mystery, and can you tell us more about that?
right. I wanted to mainly tell like what is it like to live there, right? And maybe there's a way to just tell it, that how is it like to be there. But I needed a device to make people turn the page. So while they are chasing the murder, actually subliminally I'm brainwashing you, like I'm giving the information I want to give. So murder mystery is the tool to move the plot. And of course it's just not a plain thing. I completely explain the patriarchy by using that murder mystery method. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Özge, I really want to thank you for bringing into our world the world that you experienced in the 1990s. I mean, I would never know this. It wouldn't be part of me if you had not made this book and the previous one as well. Like I've learned so much about Turkey and about the history that you've experienced, and it is very relevant to our situation here today. So I think the way that you embed just tiny little details, what were the bathrooms like, students hanging the food outside the window because there was no refrigeration, like all of that is very precious. And I love it that it's in that story because I totally enjoy learning about it. So I wanted to just say, and I know that's part of what you were intending, right? Like there's so much content in here that's kind of peripheral in there.
Exactly. I cannot tell a story about the world that I don't know. I move from what I know, and then I ask myself, like, what I know is kind of interesting there, and then it moves that way. Yeah.
Well, I think we're all very grateful for you having done this. Thank you.
Thank you.
We would love for everyone to get a chance to hang out with you and get their book signed. So I think we're going to go ahead and let folks know. Oh, wait, we do have one more question, which I think is a really good one. Dilik asks, are you a true crime person? Why or why not? I am not, but I have friends who are, they say.
I am not a true crime person. I use it only to progress the story.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you to all of our friends watching online. You can click the teal button at the bottom center of the screen to buy Evil Eyes See from Charis. It really does help us when you buy event books from us. So thank you for being with us